What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, it's that time. You know it's that time. I gotta do it. So this is my one Vampire Survivors clone of the week, all right? I might even start calling the video that, Clone of the Week, Cat W. Sounds like a cable or something that you would have to use in order to network a server. Anyways, this game here is called Halls of Torment, and it is this week's winner for the Vampire Survivors game that I would play. The game currently has a prologue. You can play it right this second, but this game effectively imagines what would happen if you mixed Diablo 1 with Vampire Survivors. And they actually kind of went all in on that with the design of this game. It is almost entirely comprised of 3D pre-renders, which is a very bold thing to do. I don't know how much people know about game design, but working with 3D pre-renders can be very, very limiting for a game. It can be difficult to work around. The only reason it worked for Diablo 2 and Blizzard is because they basically had an endless bankroll to force that art style to work, and money was really no issue. But in general, using a lot of pre-renders in order to get things done like this is a very time-costly thing to do, and I think this game actually comes out the better for it. I'll talk about my thoughts about this prologue once we get to the end of the video, but for right now, it's time for us to start playing. You can play this prologue right now. You can go get it on Steam. I've got a link for you down below, and of course, as I always say, you can stave off my loneliness right now by joining my Discord and my Twitch stream, and then I won't need to yearn for people's approval so much on the internet. It may subside for just a few minutes. We need to pick our character. We can go with the swordsman, or we can go with the archer. I don't mind either way. There are these little shrines. These pop up whenever I win or whenever I lose, but they don't. You can't click them or do anything with them. So I'm guessing it's going to be in the final version. These are where you're going to be able to buy your upgrades and things of that nature. Let's go ahead and we'll go after the archer real quick. I've never played her before, but it sounds like fun to me. We control. This is a little bit different from other Vampire Survivors games. You control where your character attacks at. You control where your character walks around to. This art style is utterly incredible. I didn't know there was stairs down here. Oh, they've got it blocked off. Hopefully that goes to something later on, like an Easter egg or something like that. That'd be really cool. But in playing the archer, was there anything over here to the right? No, not really. Okay, I just figured I'd look, because that would go along with the Diablo 1, Diablo 2 thing. Choose your destination in the Halls of Torment. I'll probably just go with the Haunted Caverns, since that's the only thing that I have. You control where your character fires in this game. So she's firing where I'm aiming right now. Ooh, my bullets have penetration. Hell yeah. I've already played the swordsman, and the swordsman's pretty cool. But, you know, it's a Vampire Survivors game. You slaughter enemies, and in slaughtering enemies, you will gather crystals. Those crystals will level you up. The crystals in this game are done impeccably well. They sound amazing when you're picking them up. They give you a little tonal kind of like tick, 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 like depending on how full your meter is. It's fantastic. The health meter looks great with the little reflections coming off of it. Over here, you've got your number of kills, how much money you've made, and how long you have left in the round. Probably take some damage right here just to bring that up by 10% to 55, and we'll keep wildly firing into the center of the enemy. When you play as the swordsman, he has like an AoE cleave because he's got a two-handed sword. It's basically like a fan that goes out in front of him, just whoosh, 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 and you've got to be closer to the enemy in order to make it work. We've got two things that have dropped that you can see on screen right now. One of them is an equipment chest, so this game incorporates equipment just like Diablo, although I think it could be done a little bit better. I'll go with movement speed right there. That sounds good. We're pretty slow. And the scroll is going to be our first ability. Oh, cool. We got like a little black hole sucky thing nice and early. I'm going to go after the equipment, and we'll see what we get out of it. Basically, it's going to give you 4 or 5 pieces of gear, and you get to pick one. Unfortunately, it is a very long run. But the thing that stuck out to me first with this game is just how well the developers have done in emulating the style of Diablo. This is not a game that's trying to break off too aggressively from Vampire Survivors. The main real change that I've seen so far is just the inclusion of equipment. that you get out of these chests. You can get like hats and you can get bracers and stuff like that. And in fact, we've gotten the quick hand gloves, we've got the plate armor, or we've got the wooden ring. And we can take one of these. I would suggest the quick hand gloves. That'll increase our attack speed by 20%. And I do think that attack speed is going to be a major part of winning as the archer. The downside here that you're not going to be able to see is that the equipment doesn't show on your character. And this is one of the ways that I mentioned that pre-render games are limiting. Because if they really want to chase down the Diablo style that they're going for, they're going to have to make the equipment show on the characters. In fact, I think that would go a long way towards making this game really stand out in the absolute ocean of Vampire Survivors games, is that actually leaning into that Diablo angle of constantly swapping out gear and constantly filling with different rings and different gloves and having like an enchantment system on the field where you can customize your build that way, and really looking at the things that Path of Exile, Diablo 1, and Diablo 2 have done in order to keep players engaged, I think is going to be necessary here. But like the first thing with that is the equipment has to show. Now, why is that difficult? Well, with pre-rendered sprites, they look how they look. It can be very difficult to get like a helmet added onto them or an armor added onto them without making a wholly separate pre-render that has every permutation and combination of visual gear in the game, which is what Diablo actually freaking did back in the day, because they were absolute maniacs back then. But nowadays, not crazy feasible and takes a ton of time to get done. And so that's one of those unfortunate things that I don't know if that's ultimately ever going to be a feature. But if it was a feature, this would be an instant buy for me, personally. Just because like a Vampire Survivors game where you get to collect randomized equipment, I actually think that they should make the equipment drop off the enemies instead of out of chests. And based on the minute type, or like what time you were at, that equipment should have effectively an item level, and it should have randomly rolled stats on it. I think they should fully lean into the Diablo idea. Like, go all in with it. Make it like a true Diablo Vampire Survivors hybrid. And I think that's gonna be the secret right there. It'd get me to buy it. It'd get me to buy it in a heartbeat, because you know how husky I am about this art style right now? This is taking me directly back to when I was like 13 years old, playing like Arcanum and Baldur's Gate and Diablo 2 all day. And like every game looked like this when I was like 12 or 13 years old. So this is an instant nostalgia buy for me. I can't help it. I can't physically keep my hand out of the cookie jar. It's just when you get to a certain age, you start craving the nostalgia of when you were young, and you're like, everything is terrible and everything has changed. I wish it was like it was when I was in the 8th grade. And then you just totally close your mind off and you only consume stuff that fits that narrow view of how things should be. That's it. That's how the whole system functions. Let's see. I'm going to take some baseline critical hit chance, because we do get a lot of piercing here, so we're getting a lot of damage rolls and a lot of crit rolls with each shot. And so I feel like we should be able to fish out a lot of crits. I'm going to go for the yellow scroll. The yellow scroll is fairly standardized. It's going to give you the active abilities that you would get in something like Vampire Survivors. So stuff like Garlic, Bible, so on and so forth. That's what the golden scrolls do. You can only fit 6 of them. So far, the graphics for every single one of the spells that I've picked up have been also pre-rendered and also incredible. The developers seem to be adhering very closely to the aesthetic design of what it is they're trying to do, and I fully support that. I think that's actually the winning play here. Let's grab the scroll. We have the scroll. We can get arcane splinters, we can get lightning strikes, or we can get phantom needles. Let's splinter the arcane. I haven't seen that one yet, so let's see how it goes. We'll see how it just throws out like little ninja stars that buzzsaw people. That's pretty cool. I can dig that. We got cunning technique, faster movement speed, base critical hit chance, critical damage bonus. Let's go for that, because we're already critting a lot. I get the feeling this character may possibly have a higher crit chance than the swordsman does just by default, like on her base roll. This game is also very unique in the world of Vampire Survivors games, because it actually has a recognizable damage detection system to the player that feels good. In a field of hundreds of games in the Vampire Survivor, Bullet Heaven, Horde survival genre, whatever name you want to call it, this is one of the only ones that I've played that actually has a damage model against the player that feels good, and that makes it kind of exceptional as well. We can get the Astronomer's Orbs, we can get Lightning Strike, or we can get Phantom Needles. I've seen all three of these. I don't think there's that many abilities in the... I think there's probably like 5 or 6 abilities in this prologue demo, would be my guess. It looks like I can get more range, I can get more health regeneration. Let's take the health regen, I suppose. At some point, we're going to start getting wounded, and the health regeneration will be nice to have just for when we're sort of like staying in the backfield, trying not to get clubbed, so I can make their damage and their range go up. I think that's probably a good idea. We'll go ahead and throw down on all these enemies. But yeah, the thing that would solidify this game for me, I'm not even going to wait till the end of the video. It's a Vampire Survivors game, dude. What am I going to talk about here? Where is the organic dialogue going to happen unless I just kind of like harp on all the Diablo things this game needs to do if it wants to sell 1 million bajillion copies and you want to beach house developers? It needs to drop randomized loot off of these enemies right here, and maybe you could have some kind of pet, be it a doggy or a kitty or a little demon or a little wisp of light that goes and grabs all the loot and brings it back to your character, and then you just press the I key and it takes you like an inventory and you can parse through it all and figure out which ones you like. Maybe they can incorporate the idea of identification scrolls, and the identification scrolls, maybe everything you pick up has a sealed stat on it. And the identification scroll, if it has that sealed stat, which is like more powerful than other implicits and whatnot, use the identification scroll to see that. Maybe some of the gems are like pink or purple, and they're hybrid gems. And hybrid gems don't just give you XP, they give you XP and like 3 HP back. Like really, really, really lean into that Diablo angle. Because right now, I'll tell you this, right off the top of the bat, the game has the art style to be a winner. This is a game that has meticulously copied Diablo's style in a way that I haven't seen from a whole lot of games outside of Path of Exile. Like, a lot of games go for that look and don't hit it on the nose. This game has it right dead on the nose. It looks great. Now it just needs to get the other stuff that ties it together and makes it feel unique versus all the other competition, because right now, for me, the aesthetic is what's keeping it afloat. But the other stuff's going to have to come together. I'm not really going to stick with it. Like, there's a million billion Vampire Survivors games out there. I don't like any of these stats, and I don't want any of these stats. These stats depress me. I'm taking defense, I guess. I'm deeply upset. This is like I went and got a pizza, and when I opened the pizza box, it was a bunch of steamed cauliflower. This is the worst. That level up offended me. I have to write a letter to that Upgrades HR department or something. I don't know, dude. We'll leave a Yelp review on that pickup right there and just be like, very disappointed. Little bit more XP. The bosses in this game are kind of unique compared to a lot of other bosses. I think Soulstone Survivors has bosses that are kind of on par with this game, where they're actually like little mini raid bosses that have patterns and things that you need to dodge, so that's good. I'm gonna upgrade my orbs. I want my Orbies to hit a little bit harder. If I could stack on like a little bit more pain towards the enemy, that would be good. Always be increasing your damage in this game is what I'll tell you, because the enemy in this game kind of soaky, man. Kind of soaky. Base critical hit chance, spike boots. When hit, drop 5 spikes on the ground and stun. I'll take the ring because we were already kind of like leaning into that crit direction. So having I feel like that we're just gonna go for that as our long-term strategy this game. Orb size, orbit speed, yes, do it. Make my spheres larger. When my spheres collide with the enemy's face, I want them to be like, yep, that was a very, very large sphere. I regret ever making the decision to beef with a man whose spheres were so catastrophically large. I'll take attack speed, that sounds good. I just want to zoom like Path of Exile, and I want to fire my weapons so fast that the entire screen is arrows. I just want to go like I want to get to that level. The good news is the rounds in this game are quite long. They're 30 minutes. I've noticed with a lot of these Vampire Survivors type games that they've been getting shorter and shorter rounds for some reason. Have you noticed that? I've noticed it. A lot of them are like stepping the rounds down to like 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Something like that. The problem with that is, in a lot of those games, you don't level fast enough to really put anything together in that short of an amount of time. I prefer the longer timers. Just me personally. Like 30 minutes feels about right for piecing together something sexy. I don't know what I want to do here. There are a lot of Skeletors over there. Movement speed sounds alright. I don't feel faster for having just picked up a 10% movement speed buff. I expected to feel 10% a lot more than I am right now. I'm sort of wondering if it's 10% of base instead of like it being multiplicatively added on. So like 100% times 10%, then times 10% again. Like I think it just maybe adds the 10% each time. I don't know if it like multiplies it across the whole time. I'm taking Damaji. I don't like taking Damaji. Taking Damaji is what is the opposite of what winners do. And I was raised that winners get sunflower seeds. So let's get out here and let's get that sunflower seed. What does it mean when it arcane splinters? I have questions. I think it's just spawning more of the little shurikens, I think is what's happening here. Oh, look, we've got little chromatic slimes. There does seem to be a decent amount of enemy variety. I think it probably could go up. I think I've seen like 6 or 7 different types of enemies surviving till like the 15-minute mark. So, you know, a few more varieties in there that do different things might not be a bad idea. Movement speed, block. I'm just going to keep taking movement speed until I feel like I'm satisfyingly fast. And we'll continue firing at slimes. I don't think piercing damage is the best way to deal with a whole bunch of metallic flubber. I need to like get into a phase of my life where I am killing it like Robin Williams was killing it in the 90s. Or, you know, Jim Carrey, or Adam Sandler. There were a number of guys that were just absolutely unimpeachable in the 90s. I need to get that energy going for me. Just really start acquiring that energy for my life. Along the way, we are picking up coins right now. I haven't figured out what we spend the coins on. I don't know if I didn't survive long enough on any of my attempts or whatever to not unlock the actual meta progression itself. But I would recommend that if you're marketing any game that's any type of roguelite or roguelite-influenced game, my advice to you is to always include some piece of your metagame progression so that players can get an idea for that, because there are deal breakers in metagame progression for a lot of people. So, for example, for me, you know, if I'm playing like a roguelite, an example of like a deal breaker with metagame progression for me are like little 3% increases to like damage and like HP and stuff like that. I like it when the upgrades are a little bit juicier, kind of like Hades style or like Rogue Legacy style, where there's interesting stuff in there that sort of changes things around, and then you can activate it or deactivate it. I like that kind of stuff. I like the roguelite expression that's a little bit less base passive stats and a little bit more changing around mechanics in interesting, unique ways. I will take another 10% attack speed. So far, our Horde clear appears to be pretty good. That Shuriken ability feels like it's mopping up. I don't know if it's mopping up, but it sort of feels that way. I need to kind of like break through right here and get all these doggies to one side. Get all these doggies off to one side. Also got some little Rakanishu demons over there, like some little goblin guys. Blood, that's the thing. There's no blood in this game. That's the strangest part. I expected when I saw screenshots of this game for, like, so blood flies out of the enemies when they get the hit marker, but there's no, like, blood, gore, or viscera left on the ground as you're going through. I would kind of recommend that, I guess. I feel like it makes the battlefield better. I don't know. I've never been a big I'm like, my issue is that I internalized video game design ideas during the Cliff Bleszinski phase of video games, where everything was super edgy and like there was an F word like every fourth word, and everything was hyper violent and crazy bloody, and everybody had a freaking chainsaw on their Lancer. You know, like that's what I kind of internalized with game design, and I've been waiting for it to come back. Just that hyper ridiculous, over the top, bourbon swigging, you know, aviator wearing, profanity firing style of game design to come back, and it just doesn't seem to come back. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old and out of touch. I want my yellow... Dude, you're going to give me my lemon crystals, dude. I want my lemon crystals, like, right now. There we go. Lemon crystal time. I don't like any of these choices. So I suppose I will just give myself a stronger metabolism. That way, when, you know, I get Cold Stone Creamery after every single round, I won't put on weight because my, you know, I've picked up a metabolism that will stop that from happening. You know what I mean? When my gelato supplies are being condensed into my booty fat. All right, a little bit of mun-muns right there. We still seem to be clearing okay. Hey, we got another boss. I do think that the bosses are a little bit damage soaky. Honestly, I think all the enemies are a tiny bit damage soaky. Like, I think for, like, the general purpose nerds, like these guys running up on us with spears, it'd be safe to drop their HP by, like, 15-20%. And with the bosses, they could probably have their HP halved. I've always found that with video games, the point of a boss is really just to test the skill set of the player. So I've never really preferred it in games where bosses have huge HP pools that require you to do the same routine over and over and over again, like 50 times. To me, like a good boss, you repeat a pattern that they do and you counter a pattern or you parry a pattern that they do like 5 times tops. And by that point, if you're firing back attacks with the timing you're supposed to, he should be like dead because you've proved you have the skill set. Like, I've always thought of bosses as kind of like a pop quiz to make sure that you're learning the skills the game wants you to have learned. I don't know. That's how I always think about bosses in video games. I don't think of them as like big bad guys. I think of them as just kind of like, all right, so the theme of this dungeon here was like, you know, movement and spacing. So this entire boss is going to be about movement and spacing. Let's see how well you're acquiring that skill. We're doing pretty good right now. We're kind of like holding it together for the archer squad. Then again, the archer seems to be flatly better than the swordsman. I don't know. Like, I've done the swordsman, and the swordsman, I kind of felt like I was breathing heavily, and I kind of felt like my face was all red the entire time I was playing it. With the archer, I kind of feel like dope right now. Like, I'm still doing a lot of circle strafing, but I'm not feeling self-conscious about it. So I think that's a good start. Oh, there's 2 bosses on the field of battle. Ow, dude! Don't do that. Health potion, please? No health potion. I am health potionless. All right, well, if we can pick off some bosses, we can get some new abilities, but critical damage bonus might be something we want to pick up at this point because we have a lot of crit. Like, I'm guessing our crit has got to be upwards of like 20 or 30%, so I think it's time to start twisting the screw on actual damage multipliers. Oh, we killed him. Nice. Give me your goodies. Ring of Blades. Ooh, nice. I've never seen these. Let's do that. That's new. I want it. Oh, yeah, dude, it throws out like a little chakram. Okay. I don't know if I'm in luck. Dude, what is hitting me right now? I'm taking damage from something. Oh, my God, there's projectiles everywhere. No, I'm supposed to be the bullet hell. You're not supposed to be the bullet hell. I'm supposed to be the bullet hell. Oh, my God, and there's another boss. We're all gonna die. Yeah, I think orb damage is probably not an awful pickup. I need to find like a health potion. Ow, dude! I need to find a health potion. I think the build would be working had I not sacrificed all of my health doing dumb stuff. Also, there's not really a lot of health potions inside these crates. I'm trying real hard right now to find like chickens or anything else I can get my hands on that are going to heal me up. I love that disintegration animation that those vampires get. It looks really good. It makes me happy. Just need health. That's pretty much it. Just need health. I think we're going down. Yeah, making the sound that winners make. Yeah. It's the sound that winners make before they get sunflower seeds. Don't give me that look. Winners get sunflower seeds, chat. Let's see. Attack speed. Yep. The faster we attack, the happier I... Oh! So many things. Yeah, give me more orbage, dude. Critical damage bonus. Probably looking pretty spicy right now. I still think we're gonna die. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I still feel like this is not looking good for me, but, you know. We do be hitting out here now, though. That was the riskiest play that I have ever made in the history of riskies or plays. Oh, dude, they're trying to tempt me with the potions, dude. They're trying to tempt me into throwing with them potions. Oh, God. Oh, God. Please stop it. Oh. No. Oh. This is the sounds of exasperation, and those are my dead butt cheeks on the ground. My butt cheeks have been deadened. I think I've given you most of my thoughts about this game, like as... Oh, maybe I interact with these while I'm playing the character. Oh my god, dude, I'm a moron. I am a moron of enormous and just ridiculous, vapid expanses. Okay. Yep. What does this one do over here? Hold on, I gotta check all these shrines. Oh, there's quests, dude. So we gotta kill some bosses. What happens when I complete these? Do I get anything? Or are these just like... Oh, I wonder if these are gonna unlock secrets and stuff. Huh. Okay, so there's like class-specific ones. I would definitely make those link into unlocking. If you're not going to do the random equipment drops, which I still think is the best idea, you should make new equipment drop behind like the achievements and stuff too. And so that's the same as interacting with that door right there. Gotcha. Like I said, I think I've explained my thoughts pretty well. I think this game is leaning really heavily on its art style in order to get people interested, and it's got me interested. It worked. I'm not ashamed to admit that that gimmick worked on me. This is the time period of my youth where everything was pre-renders. I think they've nailed the color palette. I think they've nailed the UI. It all looks fantastic. My thoughts are, though, that the enemies are a little tiny bit HP tanky, even when I take nothing but damage upgrades. And I think that the power fantasy of a game like this sort of relies on you being the boss and the enemies getting knocked down in rapid succession. And then from there, I don't think that the equipment chests are entirely satisfying. I think they should actually come up with a gear score by minute in-game, like divided into like 30-second chunks, you know? And every 30 seconds, the gear score goes up by, 1 or 2. And you get normal randomized loot that drops along with legendaries and stuff like that as you're playing through the game. Like that angle right there, this game will kill. It will make a fortune. Like, this game is all right now. Like, it stands out amongst its peers. But, if you want to put a Porsche in the garage, that's just my opinion, is get rid of the item chests and make it actually have dropped, randomized Grim Dawn, PoE, Diablo-style loot. And link that into the gameplay somehow. Maybe when the bosses drop, you can take a piece of loot and like add another modifier to it and like upgrade its color or something like that instead of a loot chest, Or maybe the loot chest just drops like 10 items. I don't know. I'm not the creative here, but that was just my thinking. The things that I found myself craving were random loot drops and also that my gear would show on my character, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that one since the game uses pre-rendered sprites. Like, I don't know how feasible that's going to be, but if they did get that on in there, it would be pretty rad. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today, up on the block that chops, we've got Halls of Torment, a game with a remarkably dope graphical style that I am here for, and some other little dots and tittles that could be moved around a little bit, in my opinion, to make the game stand out amongst, so just in case, the developers see this video. Keep in mind, I get sent easily 10 plus Vampire Survivors games a week. I'm not kidding. Between 10 and 20 Vampire Survivors style games on a busy Vampire Survivors week. This genre is in vogue right now, and it is harder than ever to make your game pop out. I'm just trying to help. I'll see y'all next time. Thank you for stopping on, and that's all I got. Bye, folks.